it's Ariel.
And Jason.
From Fix My Books. And today we are going to talk about the demand to file notice and taxpayer rights. So
you're probably here because you got a demand to file.
Yeah. We're doing a bit of a different format today. I guess you can see us because usually you can't.
Yeah, we had another video because we had a meeting. So
we just decided to record the videos. So you can see us today. Okay, so just an overview, this is what we are going to talk about today. So what is a demand to file notice? What is demand to file notice process for taxpayers? What are the taxpayer rights when dealing with the demand to file notice? And the demand to file notice process timeline and key dates, and the consequences of non-compliance with the demand to file notice. So
Be compliant.
If you're here, you probably got a demand to file notice. So this is your demand to file notice 101.
Yeah, so what is a demand to file? Demand to file notice is issued by the CRA when a taxpayer fails to file a required tax return. This notice is an official request for the taxpayer to submit their overdue tax returns. I see this quite a bit, not because they're my clients, but because they come to me because they've got one of these and they don't know what it is. Or I've looked at their account in the history and they haven't filed their return and they've,
gotten this now, saying you have to file a return. Yeah. Okay. So this is the timeline of what happens before you actually get a demand to file notice. So this is not just like, oops, you miss one day and now they're demanding you file. That's not how this goes. Okay, so first there's a preliminary review and planning. So the auditor, this is what the CRA is doing.
Yeah.
Okay? Not
behind
you.
the scenes.
Yeah.
You don't see any of this.
So the auditor conducts a preliminary review, including analysis of the previous audits and taxpayer information. And then after the review, they are going to identify your unfiled returns. So if the taxpayer has outstanding returns, this is flagged during the preliminary review.
Yeah.
So once they're like, okay, so taxpayer, let's say taxpayer whoever hasn't filed in 3 years, then they'll send you the demand to file notice, which is like, Mr. Taxpayer, you need to file 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Something like that.
And you want to make sure that you file, because when you file, that starts the statute of limitations running on your return. So if you don't file, there is no statute starting, and it goes on forever.
Yeah, and the demand to file notice will actually say, we want you to file by this date. It's not like, oh, please file these.
File whenever. No, you're getting it because now they're quite serious that you need to sort your stuff out.
And usually this is within 30 days of you receiving the notice. So for example, if you receive the notice on June 1, they want you to file your tax returns by June 30, something like that. It's
pretty common to get these on a T1. So your personal income tax return, but the most common we see them for at the moment is businesses. So usually GST, HST is a big one. And it's because some people, they registered for GST, HST, and it's an annual thing, and they're not like a big supplier, they're not massive or anything like that, and
they just ignore
They just forgot. They don't
Yeah.
know how to do it, right? So they leave it.
So you as a taxpayer must file the required return. So this is not like a notice of collection where you like make an arrangement with them. I'll file it by this time. You just have to file.
No, it's just you just have to file.
Yeah.
Like, there's no arguing with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't file, they'll do something which will make you file.
Okay. So let's say once you file the required returns, we're here. Then you'll get a notice of assessment or reassessment. Again, this is normal. Every time you file, you're going to get one of these. This is nothing special. Don't be scared if you get it in the mail. Okay? So you can get this usually within 30 days of filing or up to 8 weeks, depending on your situation. And then...
Oh, but if you've watched one of our other videos, then you may have got a notice of collection because you didn't pay the tax debt.
Yeah. So that's different.
That's different.
But this one... if you want like the penalties and interest waived, you do have up to 10 years after the end of the year, 10 years from the end of the tax year in question to get the penalties and interest waived.
There has to be an actual reason why the penalties and interest will be waived. You don't just get to waive them because you don't like them.
Yeah. Okay. So what are your taxpayer rights when dealing with the demand to file notice?
Yeah, so you have your right right to information. So you just basically can request to be informed about like why you have this demand to file, and I would tell people to look at the Chapter 3 Taxpayer Rights and Taxpayer Relief Handbook. You have rights to privacy and confidentiality. So the CRA must protect the privacy and confidentiality of the taxpayer's information. Chapter 3.4 of the Income Tax Audit Manual. And, when you bring this up with the CRA, they'll know what that is. And right to fair treatment. So taxpayers have the right to fair treatment during the audit and collections process. And that's Chapter 4 of the Income Tax Audit Manual.
Okay. Consequences of non-compliance. So you don't file when they do tell you to file. Okay. Number 1, if you fail to respond, okay, if you don't respond to the demand to file notice, the CRA may proceed with further enforcement actions.
Yeah, you don't want to get to this stage. I keep mentioning it, but we get ignored a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Just don't get to this stage.
Yeah. Next is possible penalties. So they can assess penalties for failing to file, which may include the late filing penalty of 5% plus the balance of the balance owing, plus 1% for each full month of the return that is late, up to 12 months. For repeat failures within 3 years.
Yeah, it's doubling, right?
It's doubling. Your penalty will go up to 10% of the balance owing.
And just think about it this way. If you're 30, 40 grand, right, 10%, it's $3,000 or $4,000. So then you've got the interest on top of that. And
interest is different from penalties, guys.
Interest is different from penalties. And then, you've got your interest charges as well on the right here. So interest is charged on the unpaid taxes starting from the due date of the return until the balance is paid in full. So that's why... No, wait. So that's why when you file your return, like say you're a sole prop owner, and you file the return in June, and you're thinking, why on my notice of assessment does it show interest charges? It's because you needed to pay the debt by April 30.
Yeah. Okay. And I just wanted to say, just because, let's say, you file it now, doesn't mean the interest starts now, okay? Yeah. If it was a 2019 return that had to be filed by April 2020, that's when the interest starts, not when you actually file the return.
That's why on your statement of account in the CRA it will say accrued interest, right? Automatically. It will just add up.
Yeah. Okay, estimated assessment. So this is something that the CRA can do to kind of force you to file.
Yeah, this is the thing you don't want.
Yeah, so either you file and then you give them your documents and you pay the correct amount owing, or they'll just make an estimate based on your previous tax returns and be like, based on this guy's previous tax returns, I think he owes us this much.
Yeah, and so it's going to be based on previous returns and kind of what you filed before, and also whatever information slips they have on you. And it's not going to assign, any deductions to that to reduce your income or any credits to reduce any taxes that you need to pay. So it's going to be obviously more than what you will need to pay.
So if you're a business, think about it this way. It's like they have all your income, but none of your expenses. Yeah. So they're just going to assess the tax owing just on the income, right?
So say, for example, they know that, your GST, you make $100,000 in revenue a year, got $13,000 of GST on that. They're just going to assess you $13,000.
Yeah.
And you're not going to like that. So, that's how they force you to file, because you know that your return is going to be more accurate, obviously, but also it's going to account for a lot of other expenses and credits and everything else.
So if you don't agree with the estimated assessment, you can dispute it. So disputing an estimated assessment, taxpayers can file the overdue returns and provide accurate information to replace the estimated assessment. This may result in a revised, potentially lower tax liability. Appeals can be filed if the taxpayer disagrees with the assessment following the process outlined in the CRA's objections and appeals page. So we mentioned something a while ago with the notice of objection when you have a notice of collection. So this is similar to that, but not exactly. Because what you're disputing here is actually the amount they assessed. So the best thing to do is just to file the tax return. So then there's nothing to dispute with them in terms of what you owe. Because once you file, then you're actually declaring, this is my income, this is my expense, blah, blah, blah. And end of discussion, right?
I mean, they're sending you this anyway because they just want you to file. So it's best to just deal with it. Just file the return.
Yeah.
It can be hard to get yourself organized in 30 days, especially with multiple years of returns. And they understand this. So you can just ask them, look, we're filing like 4 years of returns. We're sorry it's late.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great if you could provide some sort of extension, like another 30 days, just so we could get organized and file all of these returns together.
Yeah.
And then you have to file them in the correct order, obviously.
Yeah, you can't be filing like 2020.
2023 and then 2021 and then 2017.
Yeah. Okay. So that's it for today. We hope you guys learned a lot. And if you're here because you do have one of these demand to file, you can either file or you're going to get an estimated assessment. There's only 2 ways that this is going to go. So the best thing for you is really to find a tax professional that can help you and just file it and deal with it and call it a day. Yeah,
we understand though that like a lot of people or a lot of tax preparers and that sort of thing don't want to touch these cases. We're always open to it, but like it's they're always difficult. Yeah.
Okay, so once again, this is Ariel
and Jason
from Fix My Books, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.